Now, first of all, we'll be discussing what is indirect taxes. What is what? Indirect taxes. So, indirect taxes, it is a tax on goods or services. So, indirect tax is a tax on goods or services, where the incidence of the tax passes on to the person who ultimately consumes goods or services. So basically what an indirect tax is? Indirect tax is a tax on goods or services, where the incidence of the tax passes on to the person who ultimately consumes those goods or services. Say, excise duty, it is an indirect tax. Say it is levied on the manufacturer. Say if you are manufacturing goods, excise duty is levied. And here the manufacturer passes on the incidence of tax, this duty, to the consumers of those goods. The price includes a duty element. Similarly, say custom duty. Importer is importing the goods, paying custom duty, and whenever he is selling those goods, he will be including that duty element in the price, which is ultimately is charging from his consumers or his customers. Or say it is goods and services tax. GST. It is a tax on, say, supply of goods. So I am selling the goods. Whatever GST is levied, the same is charged from my consumers. Whoever is consuming those goods, I will be charging the same in the invoice. It is sales tax, or say VAT. Central sales tax. In all these cases, the incidence of the tax or duty passes on to the person who ultimately consumes those goods or services. So indirect tax is a tax where the incidence of duty or tax passes on to the person who ultimately consumes the goods or services. Whereas what? Direct tax is a tax on person. Direct tax is a tax on person. Here, the tax incidence is to be borne by the same person who pays such tax. So in case of direct tax, incidence of tax cannot be passed on to the other person. It is a tax on a person. It is not a tax on goods or services. It is a tax on a person, where the incidence of tax is borne by the same person who pays the tax, such as income tax. It is basically what? The direct tax. Earlier it was wealth tax. It is what? A direct tax. So, these taxes here, basically they are a tax on a person. And indirect taxes are tax on what? Goods or services. Now here, these indirect taxes, they are what? Basically regressive in nature. In the sense that poor person has to bear the same incidence of tax which a rich person has to bear. So fundamentally he has to bear the same incidence of tax which a rich person has to bear. And say rate of tax is say 5% rate of tax is there. So whether a rich person consumes or whether a poor person consumes, say goods X is subject to 5% GST. So whether the same is consumed by a rich person or whether the same is consumed by a poor person, they have to bear the tax incidence equally. So what happens is a poor person pays a major portion of his income in paying the taxes when the indirect when the taxes are say regressive in nature. Say if he is earning 1,000 rupees and is consuming that goods and his consumption is say same as of a rich person. So on 1,000 rupees he has to bear say 5 rupees is the tax incidence. For example, he has purchased those goods which are of 100 rupees, 5 rupees is the incidence of tax. So out of 1,000 rupees, he has borne how much tax incidence? 5 rupees. Similarly, a rich person is also there who is earning say 1 lakh rupees and he is also consuming the same goods and he is also paying 5 rupees tax. That is same goods, same quantity. Now his incidence is much less in comparison to what? A poor person. So these taxes are regressive in the sense that poor person spends more portion of his income in paying taxes in comparison to a rich person. So the incidence is though is equal, but it is bearing brunt on what? Those poor persons. So fundamentally, regressiveness is the basic thing which is to be a drawback, a disadvantage. Otherwise, indirect taxes are very easy to collect. Say a supplier of goods is there. Supplier of goods is there. Now he knows that he is just acting as a collecting agency. He will not be bearing the burden. So, in the price of the goods, tax incidence is borne. Tax incidence is inbuilt. So supplier thinks that he is just acting as an agency, government has authorized him to collect the tax and deposit the same. And he knows that he will be charging the same amount to the consumers. So here the thing is the tax collection becomes easy in case if a person is there who is himself bearing the burden, then he thinks that this much amount of tax will go from me. Therefore, he try to evade the same. So, in case direct taxes, direct taxes are what? Direct taxes leads to what? Evasion. More evasion is there in direct taxes in comparison to what? The indirect taxes. Everyone is bearing so many indirect taxes. We are consuming so many goods or we are consuming so many services. In each goods and services we are bearing what? The incidence of tax. Whereas in case of direct taxes, only that person will be required to pay direct tax whose income exceeds what? The basic exemption limit. So the thing is, if we know that this much amount of tax burden is on us, then we try to evade the same. In price of goods, the same has been inbuilt, then how can we evade the same? So their tax evasion is less in indirect taxes in comparison to what? The direct taxes. Direct taxes leads to what? More and more tax evasion. Now, first of all, we will be discussing what? Goods and services tax in this particular chapter. This is a theoretical chapter basically. Only one practical aspect is there relating to how the government gets the revenue on account of what? The indirect taxes. So, first chapter is GST in India, a brief introduction. So, here in this particular chapter, what we will be discussing is GST in India, a brief a brief introduction. So, in this particular chapter, what we will be discussing here is the genesis of GST in India, how GST came into India. That is basically historical developments and how GST ultimately came into India. That is, then the second aspect is basically we will be discussing what goods and services tax is, concept of GST in India, which we will be discussing in this chapter. Then what are the need for GST in India? What were the deficiencies in the earlier system of taxation? Deficiencies in earlier system of taxation. Which led to introduction of what? GST in India. Then what is the framework of GST as introduced in India, as we are following kya? Dual GST model. What are the advantages of GST? And we will be discussing the constitutional provisions relating to GST. That is 101st Amendment Act, Constitutional 101st Amendment Act 2016, that led to the introduction of GST. So fundamentally in this chapter, it's a theoretical chapter where we will be discussing how the GST came into force, what is basically concept of GST, what is the need of GST in India, what is the framework of GST as introduced in India, benefits and the constitutional provisions here. So first of all, what basically goods and services tax is. So goods and services tax basically GST is a tax levied on supply of goods or services or both in India. It is levied on what? Supply of goods or services or both in India. Now, the taxable event here is what? Supply. Taxable event in GST is what? Supply. And the scope of term supply. Scope of term supply is given in where? We will be discussing in section 7 of the CGST Act 2017. So, just you remember now that GST is a tax which is levied on supply of goods or services or both in India, including the state of what? Now it is union territory, including the state of Jammu and Kashmir. We have to write now, including the union territories of Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh. We have to write in that manner. But till CGST Act and other notifications are there, till that time, it will be state of Jammu and Kashmir. Otherwise, GST is levied on what? Supply of goods or services or both in India, including the state of Jammu and Kashmir. And GST basically is what? GST is a destination-based consumption tax. Destination-based consumption tax. Say, supplier of goods is in Delhi. Supplier of goods is in Delhi. And recipient of goods with goods are delivered to him for consumption. That is, goods are delivered to him for consumption. It is in, say, Rajasthan. Here, the revenue of GST levied on such transaction will be of the state of Rajasthan. The revenue will be state of Rajasthan here in this case, because the destination is in Rajasthan, consumption takes place where? In Rajasthan. So basically this destination based consumption tax, this is place of supply. The place of supply is in Rajasthan, so the revenue will be in Rajasthan. So GST is levied on supply of goods or services or both in India, including the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and it is basically destination based consumption tax, and it is levied from the first stage, say manufacturing activity takes place, till entire supply chain tax is levied. Say here manufacturer supplies goods to wholesaler. Say 1 lakh rupees is the value of taxable supply, and rate of GST, say we presume to be 18%. So what happens is, as you are aware of this fact that it's an indirect tax, manufacturer will be charging 18,000 rupees as GST. Manufacturer will be charging 18,000 GST when he is selling the goods to what? The wholesaler. 1,18,000 rupees will be charged from the wholesaler. Now, wholesaler makes value addition, his profit margin of say 50% on the price of the goods. So here wholesaler sell the same to retailer. Now what happens here is, his value addition is 50%, so his value of taxable supply will become how much? On 1 lakh rupees, he has made a value addition of 50%, so it will be 1,50,000 rupees. His value of taxable supply is 1,50,000 rupees, on which he is charging what? 18% GST. On this value of taxable supply, he is charging what? 18,000 GST. So on 1,50,000 into 18%, it becomes 27,000 rupees. Now here, he will be charging the same from the retailer. He will be charging the same from the retailer. And wholesaler will get credit of tax paid. He will get a credit of tax paid on his inputs, that is purchases which has been made by him. How much amount he has to deposit to the treasury of the government? His output tax liability is how much? 27,000 rupees. Less his input tax credit is 18,000 rupees. So 9,000 rupees he has to deposit to the treasury of the government. Then the retailer sell the goods to the consumer after making value addition of, say, he also makes a value addition of what? 50%. He also makes a value addition of 50%. So here, what will be the price excluding taxes which is charged from the customer? 150 plus value addition of what? A margin of 50%. That is 75,000. 1,50,000 into 50%. That is 2,25,000. And GST is charged at rate of what? 18%. That is how much? 40,500. Retailer will deposit the same. Retailer will deposit the tax. Retailer, he will deposit the tax. How much output tax liability is this? After getting the credit of the tax paid at the earlier stage, output tax liability is 40,500 rupees. And less, he will get a credit of how much? 27,000 rupees. He will get a credit of 27,000 rupees. How much tax he has to deposit? 13,500. Now you look. This is a tax incidence which is ultimately borne by the consumer. That is 40,500 is a tax incidence which is ultimately borne by the consumer. And it is equal to the value addition which has been so made. At the various stages, how much tax is collected? From manufacturer, the government gets what? First stage, sale, manufacturer, 18,000 GST has been collected by the government. It is deposited to the treasury of the government. Wholesaler deposits how much? Wholesaler deposits 9,000 rupees. And retailer deposits how much? 13,500. So in nutshell, this much amount of tax has been deposited. That is 18,000 plus 90,000, so 9,000 plus 13,500, 40,500, which is what? The ultimate tax, which is borne by whom? The ultimate consumer. Is a tax which is borne by whom? The ultimate consumer. So, in this case, in GST, is a tax on value addition. It is basically a tax on what? Value addition. Manufacturer has made a value addition of rupees lakh, then the value addition was made of 50,000 rupees, and then subsequently what? 75,000 rupees. So this is basically a tax on value addition. How it is possible? Since credit is allowed at each stage of the taxes which has been paid on the purchases. So ultimately only the value addition part is taxed. So what basically GST is? GST is levied on supply of goods or services or both in India including the state of Jammu and Kashmir. It is a destination based tax on consumption of goods or services. It's a destination based tax on consumption of goods or services, and it is levied at all the stages. It is levied at what? All the stages, right from the manufacturer up to the final consumption, with the credit of taxes paid at previous stages available as set off. So whatever taxes are paid on the inputs at previous stages, the same is allowed as credit. In nutshell, only value addition is taxed, and the burden is to be borne by the ultimate consumer, which we have seen that here in our example, 40,500 rupees the tax which is collected at various stages, and the burden thereof is borne by whom? The ultimate consumer. Now, what is the basically genesis of GST in India? So, first of all, how the GST came. So, in year 2000, the then Prime Minister introduced the concept of GST and set up a committee there to design a GST model for the country. So in 2000, initially, GST, word new GST, goods and services tax, that time came into the minds of that, particularly Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister at that time. Then in 2006, the Union Finance Minister, the then Union Finance Minister, during the budget speech 2006-7, they said that the GST would be introduced from 1st April 2010. The Union Finance Minister was Mr. P. Chidambaram that time, and look how the time changes. So in 2006, the Union Finance Minister, he brought the concept of what? GST and said that the GST must be rolled out with effect from 1st April 2010. Then the existing Prime Minister was the Chief Minister at that time of Gujarat, though they protested most, no, this won't be introduced in this manner. Then subsequently when the Gujarat Minister became the Prime Minister, then the constitutional 122nd Amendment Bill was introduced in the Lok Sabha, because we have a federal structure where there is a center and where there is a state, and earlier there was a delineation of the powers. These will be the taxes which will be levied by the central government. These will be the taxes which will be levied by the state. That is, union list is there relating to the power which has been vested with the central government to make the laws. State list is there. So therefore, delineation was there. And on a single transaction, we have to give power to both center as well as the state to levy a tax. For that purpose, we needed a constitutional amendment. Therefore, constitutional amendment was made, and they stated that power will be given now of levying goods and services tax both to center as well as state on a single transaction on the same value base. Then the GST Council was constituted, which will recommend the government relating to the various aspects of GST. What will be the tax structure? What will be the goods which will be, say, coming under the ambit of GST, which will be outside the purview of GST till a notified time? What will be the rates of GST? All these things that was being given with the GST Council, and the first council's meeting was in September 16. Then the government introduced the various bills in March 17, that is CGST bill, SGST bill, IGST bill, UTGST bill, and in April 2017 these bills, they were ultimately enacted, and then various state governments also passed their own SGST Act, which is just a replica of what? The CGST Act. And subsequently, with effect from 1st of July 2017, we get an economic freedom by launching what? Goods and services tax. And then the Jammu and Kashmir also on 8th of July 2017, they also made their this passed, and the GST then became effective in the entire goods and services which are supplied within India. So that is basically the rollout. Now, first of all, we will be now discussing the same. So in 2000, what happened was the Vajpayee government started discussion on GST by setting up the Empowered Committee. The committee, it was headed by Asim Das Gupta, the finance minister of that government of West Bengal. Then it was given a task force for designing GST model and overseeing the IT back-end preparedness for its rollout. So in 2000, basically, we thought of introduction of what? GST. Then there was a Calcutta task force on implementation of Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act. They recommended what? Ki GST must be introduced on national basis. So that Calcutta task force recommended for the same. Then GST was proposed in 2007-8. 10 years afterwards, it came into force. So a proposal was given to introduce a national level goods and services tax by April 1, 2010, which was first mooted in the budget speech by the Union Finance Minister P. Chidambaram while presenting the central budget of 7-8. Since the proposal involved what? Reforms restructuring not only indirect taxes but levied by the center, but also the states. The responsibility of preparing, designing and a roadmap for the implementation of GST was then assigned to the Empowered Committee to the state finance ministers. Okay. In 2007-8, they introduced an idea, they led up an idea of introduction of GST with effect from 1st of April 2010. Then power was given to this Empowered Committee of the State Finance Ministers. In 2014 again, the talks of ushering GST gained momentum and the NDA government laid down what? The Constitution 102nd Amendment Bill on the GST on Parliament in 19 December 14. The Lok Sabha passed the bill on 6th of May and Rajya Sabha passed on 3rd of August. So this was Constitution 101st Amendment Act. (2016), which got the assent of the President on 8 September 2016. And this Constitution 101st Amendment Act is very important since it paved the way for introduction of GST in India. It paved the way for what? Introduction of GST in India. And this amendment was necessary because of what? Dual structure, or say federal structure. It's better we write federal structure, because we have what? Center, and we have what? State. Center and state are there. On that account, there is a federal structure. Therefore, on this reason, we needed an Constitution 101st Amendment Act was there. We needed that because both center and the state must be empowered to levy taxes simultaneously on a single transaction. For that we needed what? The amendment in the Constitution, and the amendment in the Constitution came with effect from what? This 8th of September 16, when the Constitution 101st Amendment Act 2016 was made, which gave power to levy a tax, a single tax. That is what? On the transactions, single transaction, center and state government, both is what? Given the power to levy the tax. Now, GST legislations, that is a CGST bill 2017, after this Constitution Amendment Act was made, then definitely they framed the bills relating to levy of goods and services tax. The Central Goods and Services Tax Bill 2017, Integrated Goods and Services Tax Bill 2017, Union Territory UTGST Goods and Services Tax Bill 2017, and GST Compensation to States Bill 2017. They were introduced in Lok Sabha on 27th of March 2017. So we have made separate bills relating to levy of CGST, that is Central Goods and Services Tax Bill was there. Then Integrated Goods and Services Tax Bill 2017 was there. That was for levy of integrated tax when there is an interstate supply, when the location of the supplier says in Rajasthan and place of supply where the consumption takes place says in Delhi. In that particular circumstance, we levy what? Integrated tax. For that purpose, we framed what? Integrated Goods and Services Tax Bill. Then for all the union territories without legislature, state legislature, that is the union territories, for that those union territories, we have made a bill relating to what? That is Union Territory Goods and Services Tax Bill 2017, which empowers the government, central government, to levy what? The tax in these union territories where there is a supply within the union territory. Then, to compensate the state governments on account of loss of revenue due to introduction of what? GST, separate goods and services tax compensations to state bills 2017 was also enacted. What is happening here is earlier VAT system was there, and VAT was not destination based consumption tax. What VAT was basically, in VAT, the revenue accrued to the state government from where the movement of the goods commences. Are you getting? To say if movement commences from Maharashtra, movement commences from Maharashtra and terminates where? In Uttar Pradesh, where the consumption takes place. Here basically, here it was revenue of what? State government of Maharashtra. And when GST was introduced, since GST is basically what? Destination based consumption tax. So revenue in such a transaction will be of whom? UP. Yogi ji's revenue it will be. Now, those states which are more populous, more population is there, they were readily agreeing for introduction of GST because the revenue is of that state government. Whereas those states which were rich there in industries, it was earlier VAT was their revenue. From now it has been shifting from there to that other state. There is a what? A loss to these states on account of, say, introduction of GST. To compensate that loss, they what? Made a separate enactment for certain goods. They will be levying what? GST compensation cess. And out of that cess, whatever the loss to the various state governments on account of introduction of GST, that will be compensated to them. So they have worked out, say, the base year will be there and projected rate of growth is there, and on that basis, they will be seeing whether you are getting your revenue or not. In case you are not getting the revenue, out of this GST compensation cess, that state will be compensated with that revenue. So basically, they introduced these, and various state governments, they also made respective state GST bills. So these bills, various state bills, they were enacted, and then came what? GST. So the central legislation, that is Central Goods and Services Tax Bill 2017, Integrated Goods and Services Tax Bill 2017, Union Territory Goods and Services Tax Bill 2017, GST Compensation Bill 2017. They were introduced in Parliament in Lok Sabha, say, on 27th of March 17, and they were passed there on 29th of March 2017. Because in Lok Sabha it was no difficulty. In Rajya Sabha there was a difficulty, but that difficulty was not faced by the Modi government, since UP, Bihar, etc., they are more in favor of what? The introduction of GST because of the revenue. Therefore, they also gave what? The assent for what? Introduction of GST. And then subsequently, the receipt of the President's assent on 12th April 17, the bills were enacted. After the enactment of the central acts, that is CGST Act, IGST Act, UTGST Act, and GST Compensation Acts, then the state laws of the various state legislatures, they made what their state bills, and Telangana, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Punjab, Goa, Bihar were amongst those who passed their respective state GST bills. So this was this was basically genesis of GST, and government rolled out GST with effect from 1st of July 2017. GST in the state of Jammu and Kashmir came into force with effect from what? 8th of July 2017. And basically the introduction of GST is a very significant step. Lots and lots of different types of taxes were there which were subsumed, and a single tax is levied on such supply, taxable event is supply. Now France was the first country to implement GST in year 1954. Within 62 years, about 160 countries across the world, they have adopted GST because this tax has the capacity to raise the revenue in most transparent and neutral manner. So we have seen the genesis of GST. What genesis of GST is that in the year 2000, the then Prime Minister introduced the concept of GST and set up a committee to design GST model for the country. This happened in 2000. Then we have seen that the Union Finance Minister, the then Union Finance Minister, they made a state empowered committee and told that the GST must be introduced with effect from what? 1st of April 2010. The announcement by the Union Finance Minister during 2006-7 budget that GST must be introduced from 1st April 2010. Then in 2014, Constitution 122nd Amendment Bill was introduced in Lok Sabha, which was duly passed in Lok Sabha as well as Rajya Sabha and received the assent of the President, and it became what? The Constitution 101st Amendment Act. It became Constitution 101st Amendment Act. Then, as per the Article 279A, a council was to be constituted. There is one GST Council. GST Council's first meeting took place in, say, September 16, and subsequently GST Council recommended CGST, SGST, IGST, UTGST compensation bills, and in April 17, these enactments were passed. Similarly, various state, it also needs a ratification of the states also. Na? Therefore, the states also introduced their respective bills in their respective state assembly, and that same got passed. And all the states except Jammu and Kashmir passed their SGST Act, and with effect from 1st of July 2017, we got the economic freedom, and GST was then introduced. And subsequently, ordinance was made under these CGST and IGST ordinance were made so that GST is also introduced in what? The state of Jammu and Kashmir. And from afterwards, so after say in 1st of July 2017, now it is October 2019, that journey is thereby going on, and we are revising and revising more and more forms and making it more and more simplified. Now, what basically is the concept of GST? As we have already told you, that GST is a value added tax. It is a single tax. GST is a single tax. Is a single tax on supply of goods or services or both, right from the manufacturer to the consumer. whatever credit is allowed, with credit of taxes paid at earlier stages. So in nutshell, it is basically a tax on value addition. Now there is a continuous flow of credit, as we have seen now, from the manufacturer to wholesaler, wholesaler to retailer, until unless the goods are consumed by the ultimate consumer. So GST provides comprehensive and continuous chain of tax credits from manufacturers or say service providers point up to retailers or consumer level, thereby taxing only the value addition at each stage of supply chain. The incidence of tax, as we have seen, is to be borne by whom? The final consumer. So GST paid on the procurement of goods and services. It can be set off against that payable on the supply of goods and services. Thus, only the final consumer bears the GST charged by the last supplier in the supply chain with set off of benefits at all the previous stages. So here, as we have seen that 40,500 rupees in our question, it was ultimately borne by whom? The ultimate consumer. At various stages, the government has got revenue, but it is to be borne by what? Ultimate consumer. Now it prevents kya? Cascading effect. Cascading effect, या say double taxation. Say, in case if credit is not allowed, if we have purchased goods of 1 lakh in which 18,000 is GST element, so it is 1 lakh 18,000. If credit is not allowed, then the effective purchase price will remain same. That is what? 1 lakh 18,000. In this, if we make a value addition of say 50,000 we have done in the earlier example, so it is 1 lakh 18,000 plus 50,000, 1 lakh 68,000, on which 18% GST is again levied. It was manufacturer to wholesaler, then wholesaler to say retailer. He will be charging 30,240. It becomes 198, 240. Then subsequently we took value addition of 50% or 25%. Again 50%. So there the price was 2 lakh 65,500. Ultimately price which was borne by the consumer. And now here you look 198 to 50, 240. The value addition part is say 50% in this particular circumstance. 99,120, and then again tax will be levied. So ultimately what happens is the price burden goes on and goes on, and is to be ultimately borne by the consumer. So it becomes 297, 360, and on that 18% is a burden, 53,524. Since tax incidence, tax credit is not allowed. So this way the ultimate burden is to be borne by whom? The consumer. If amount wise we take, say value addition amount wise is how much there, then also the ultimate burden is there. So fundamentally this was basically why we have introduced the GST. The value addition, value added tax, there is a continuous flow of credits. Tax incidence is to be borne by what? The ultimate consumer, and mitigating the cascading effect. Basically that is the concept of the goods and services tax. In case of you keep the value addition part same here, say 50,000. In case you want to take, sir, we want only that profit margin remains same. If it is 75,000 as there was in the earlier question, then also you can see that how much it is, 198, 198, 240 plus 75,000 was the value addition there, na? Into 18%. It is 3,22,423. And there it was how much? In that question it was how much? 2,65,500. So this is how tax incidence goes on. Tax on tax, tax and tax, and tax on tax. And GST prevents what? The cascading effect of the taxes. We will be starting with the deficiencies tomorrow. Okay, what were the deficiencies and the constitutional amendment.